Today we're going to teach you about pain-free squats. Show you how to improve your range of motion and decrease the pain in your body. So let's talk a little bit about the squat right from the get-go. So getting into a deep part of that squat, and usually that deep part is getting that body so we can sit down and control that movement into this range of motion. This is usually tender on the knees, the ankles, and the calves for most people. We did a couple of videos in the past. You can feel free to take a look at those, Revive the Body, that talks about that and why that happens. Today, we're just going to be talking about improving that squat depth and make sure that it's pain-free. Our lives today don't really promote that deep squat position. We have chairs, we have offices, we have desks, we have couches, we have all those fun, wonderful things that make things easy for us. And when we don't do that movement, we lose it. So our goal is to bring that movement back into our lifestyle. It's a primal movement that we have. We want to make sure that we can bring it back into our lifestyle and make sure that we bring it back pain-free. So these 3 easy exercises are going to show you how to do that exactly. When we spend time in that deep squat and we get past that 90 degree, we start working on building that joint, the tendon, and ligament health. And when we use less weight and higher reps, this is going to grow the strength of those. Where if we're only doing heavy weight all the time, and 1 rep maxes all the time, and as heavy as we can during the workout, great for the muscles, great for building the muscle bellies, but now we have disproportionate strength between the muscle belly and the ligaments and tendons on our body. So we need to spend time hanging out in these positions, and that's why at Primal Path, every week we have tempo training and we have time under tension. And this week what we have is that deep squat. So to build up to that deep squat, pain-free is the key. Start off with this simple movement. We're going to do a pole-assisted squat. Now, when we're talking about this squat, we want to make sure that we keep a vertical spine the entire time we work our way down and work our way up. And when we hold on to the pole, it relieves some of the tension off here so we're not fully loading all those joints, especially in a place that we haven't been in a while. So we're going to just stand by an upright, a doorway, doesn't really matter. Have those arms directly out in front of you. And as Nadine works her way down, you're going to see that she moves her hands down as well too, supporting that body. She's going to get into that deep squat so that hip is below that knee. She's keeping the spine nice and vertical. So if I ran a line from the back of the head between the shoulders to the glutes, it'd be nice and straight. Her knee is traveling over the toes and that hip is entirely aligned, or that thigh is entirely aligned with that calf. We're going to hang out here. Now, she can go even deeper than this, and we get this little bit of a butt wink and the rounding of the spine. It's good to be in that position. There's nothing wrong with working that position too, but we're going to keep you a little bit out of that so we do keep tension on the body. Now, when we're in this position, we also want to work our way back up with our hands too. So as she comes up, bring those hands up, creating, once again, relieving some of that pressure off the lower half of the body. One of the mistakes that we see, besides that rounding and that deep squat where we're taking all the load off of her body, is more of a quad dominant position in the bottom position. So if she goes down into that position, you might find that you're shifting forward, so we have a little gap into the heels. We might feel tons of pressure just in this knee. And if that's the case, this is where we want to try and use that pole. We could lean back into that. So she's straightening these arms, so she's taking the load. And if she was to let go, she might end up falling back. In this case, she's not, which is good. But this is also a good test. Come up out of there. This is also a really good test to find out whether you feel confident in the bottom of that squat, especially with the pole. So we want to be able to get into that position, but we also want to be able to get into that position without holding on to it. So we're going to show you one more way that you can do that with this pole squat, is that when we get down to the bottom of there, and Nadine was just doing it, initially what she can do is, can she maintain this position and take 1 hand off? Can she maintain that position? Can she take 2 off? Great. Now, in general, we're going to try and see if she can shift back a little bit more. Good. And then in general, if she shifted back even more, she'd end up falling back, which then she would grab onto that upright, just like she did. So that's what's good about having that pole, and you can come up out of there. That's what's good about having that pole there, is it allows you to find that balance, especially for very quad dominant, for a person who always just bends over instead of getting that squat. Now, if you look at most adults and they drop something on the ground, that's exactly what they'll do. We'll just round the back, hinge over, and pick it up. But if you watch a baby with its primal movements that hasn't been, didn't have the luxuries of life, of chairs and all these other things, if they drop something on the ground, they just squat right back down and pick it up without any problem, without even questioning it. And that is a primal movement that we, like I said, that we're really losing because we don't have a need for it anymore. So let's bring it back. The other way we can do is the second movement. We're going to grab a band. We're going to put some J-clips up high or something that we can hang things off and grab a band. Size of the band, the thicker obviously provides more assistance. The thinner, less assistance to you and more on your own weight. This is also going to help by improving your overhead position too. Even though we're talking about the squat, this will get some alignment going from the glutes all the way up overhead. So this is after we've graduated from that pole squat. We feel confident just hanging out in that bottom position, but we still need a little bit of assistance with this. So we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to work on just getting into that squat while holding onto this band. It's going to give you a little less stability because it can move, where this is fully stable, and rely more on your body. And if you notice, her spine's more vertical in this position, and I love this position, as well as getting into that overhead position too with the arms. But she can sit down here, and we could also work our way into some VMO bounces. So if we feel confident, we're just going to come up and down just a couple inches. This is going to help promote the synovial fluid to go around the knee to help that growth of the ligament and tendon strength that we want to build, and then we can come up out of there. We can do those VMO bounces on the upright as well too, so feel free to play around with that stuff. That's the most important thing. Have some fun with this. If you want to push in one knee out, you want to push the other knee out, just play around, shift the hips, see what feels good. That's what it's all about, guys. Finally, we have our standard deep squat without any assistance. This is what our clients are doing today in class. We're going to go down to that deep squat. And if you notice, what she did is she adjusted her feet as she went down. I love this. And we're going to hang out there. She's keeping the arms straight. We're keeping that back nice and flat. We could also bring those arms between the knees, create a little bit of a tension, look down over the knee to make sure that knee is traveling up over the toe. If not, we can give a little elbow to promote that. And at the same time, she's just being aware that she's not rounding. Now, usually when we're in this position, it's very easy to round that body and just sit down there, make sure that we are creating a little bit of tension coming up out of there ever so slightly. Good, and then we're going to stand up. And what I was talking about before is when she went to go and squat, she adjusted those feet and those legs. So we don't have to have the hips or the heels directly underneath the hips when we're going into that squat. So as you're going down, you might be like, oh, I need to adjust. Let me get down. Okay, let me push this foot out and bring the heels in. Let me move that body around as you need to make sure that you're finding comfort in that bottom position. When we get into that bottom position and we're hanging out down there, like I said, just be aware of that forward shifting, that backward shifting, and just be aware of what's going on. You could shift left and right, push those knees out exactly like Nadine was doing before, but really play around with that movement. That's what it's all about. Spend as much time as you can down there. It might mean 5 seconds. It might mean a minute. You want to try and build up to 10 minutes. It's awesome. But when we're into that deep squat, especially without the assistance, if we spend a lot of time in there, we almost might feel like those muscles are really, really weak. And that's because we're lengthening this quad. The quad actually attaches below the knee. And we're in that position, we're stretching this muscle out long and long like taffy. As taffy, just slowly bringing it out. And obviously that means that's going to be a little bit weaker. So coming up out of that position can be very hard and can kind of force a lot of activation real quick to the body, and we want to be slightly gentle on this because we're trying to comfort the body and let it get into the position. So Nadine's going to kind of show you a little technique to get out of that deep squat if coming right up just seems like it's either too hard or you feel like you're going to hurt something or pull a muscle or whatever it may be, whatever you may be feeling. So if we're in that deep squat, we've been hanging out there for a while. A really good way to, instead of just shooting back up, is we could just drop those hands to the ground. You're going to see her walk those hands out. She's going to drop the knees down, and then we're going to stand up. All right? Take that extra second, make that simple change. If you spend a lot of time in that deep squat, spend 10 minutes in it. Let us know what you think. Add it in the comments. We'd love to hear your feedback, and thank you guys for watching.